Most two rectangle skirts are big and they're gathered, but not this one. It's fitted, straight, and best of all, made to your measurements with no zipper needed. Hi, I'm Emily from Threaded Journey, and I'll show you just how easy it is to make. You don't need a fancy pattern for this one, just a few basics and your measurements. I'm going to need a tape measure, have something that I can create my rectangles on. I'm using 3/4 of an inch elastic, queen size sheet. You could also use just flannel from the store, but I want my waistband to stop right here where these shorts do. 39 inches is my waist to the floor measurement. If you know you want a knee length skirt, calf skirt, all the way to your feet skirt already, then go ahead and measure that length. If you're not sure, you want to see it, just measure down to your feet. Depends on how much fabric you have. When we're looking at making something that's elastic, the waist has to be able to stretch as wide as the widest part of us. Otherwise, you can't get it off. What I'm going to do is measure my hips. That's the measurement that I'm going to use for all the way down so that I can slide my skirt off. And I'm going to take two different measurements. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the biggest part of us, no matter where it is, because that's how we have to slide off our skirt. So find the biggest part of you and measure from that side seam to side seam. That's the measurement you need right there. Then I'm going to do the same thing and do my front. I'm going to do at that same spot, I'm going to measure from seam to seam. So you're also going to need to measure waist for your elastic. If you're making a long skirt, even really the knee length or any length, you're going to have to be able to walk in it. So it's going to need a slit of some kind in it. That's why we're going to seam the back so that we can easily do a slit up the back. You could not seam the back and do slits in the side seams. That would work too. You can also cut up the back if you don't want to side seam it. And I'll do a little bonus at the end of the video to show you how to do that. Because in the first skirt that I made, I didn't think about that you wouldn't be able to walk in it. So I'll show you what I did to make that one work. So let's get started on using our measurements and making our rectangle pattern pieces. So we're going to first figure out the length of our skirt rectangles. So we're going to take our waist to however long you want your skirt length. Mine was to the floor 39, so I'm going to say 38 inches plus 1 inch hem. This is whatever you want it to be, and that's going to give me 39 inches. My elastic is 3/4 of an inch. Add that to a 1/2 inch of fold down stitching area, and we have 1.25 inches. Now we're just going to add those two numbers, and I have 40.25 inches is going to be the length of my rectangle. Right down here, I've included what seam allowances are, inches into decimals, and then the centimeter equivalents just to help you out. So my front measurement was 17 inches. I need an ease of 1 inch, so that's 18 inches. Take that 18 inches. I'm going to divide it by 2, 9 inches. I'm going to take my 9 inches, add seam allowance. I personally like to do 1 centimeter of seam allowance, but you can do whatever it is you want. Okay, we're going to do our back panels. My back measurement was 21 inches. I have an ease of 1 inch, 22 inches. I'm going to take my 22 inches, divide by 2. I'm going to take my 11 inches. If you want a back seam, you're going to do down here. So you're going to need a side and a back seam allowance, which is going to be a total of 0.75 if you use that 1 centimeter seam allowance. If you want to cut it on the fold so that you do not have a back seam allowance, then you're just going to do the 0.375. I'm going to seam the back of it, so I'm going to have 11.75 inches for the width of my back panel. Because if I actually do them on the pattern paper for you, it's just a big white rectangle. It doesn't really show up anything. We're going to need the 40.25 inches. So this is 40.25 inches all the way. I will need this measurement on my back one, but I don't need it on my front one. I'm going to cut it on the fold line, and to know how wide I need my rectangle, it's my 9.375. 375 inches. Simple rectangle, right? It's all you need for the front. For my back, it's a little bit more complicated. Not a lot, but a little bit. If you're going to need to dart, which you may not, you need to know where this line is. This is your waist. So when I was looking at my length of skirt, I know this is 39 to my waistline, and then this is 1.25 inches. This is my 11.75 inches. I'm going to cut 2 back panels or 1 on the fold. If I was going to cut it on the fold, then I would have 11.375 inches. You also need to mark your knee length, because this is going to be your split. You're going to stitch and stop at that point. If you're cutting it on the fold and you want side seam openings, then you need to mark it here. And when you stitch your side seam, you'll stop there. And that's if you're doing it on the fold. If you're doing this one, as you can see, my front and back measurements are very different, and that's why I need darts. If your 2 measurements are pretty similar, then you may not need them. If you're not sure yet, don't worry. Once you sew your side seams and try it on, you'll know, and you can add them directly to the fabric then instead of now on the pattern. A typical dart is 3¼ inches. That's from your seam. So whatever your seam allowance, then mine is that 1 centimeter, then go over 3¼ and mark a straight line down. From your waistline, this is why we marked that waistline, we're going down 4½ inches, and then you can finish it up whatever your casing was. We're gonna mark right here 1/2 inch from that middle line, and right here 1/2 inch from that middle line. Make a little mark. This up here is going to be 3/4 of an inch from that middle line. Then I'm just going to draw a diagonal from that dot to the bottom, making sure that I cross through this line here and here. So make sure when you're looking at your sheet that if you want to match up your plaids, which you do, that you can fit all of your panel pieces going one direction. My mom is a big plaid or stripe matchup person, and she would not buy anything in the store. As much as we wanted it, she would not buy it if the plaids or the stripes didn't match up, because she said it looked tacky. It does look tacky. It does. If you're using a plaid or a stripe, it will look a lot nicer for this super easy skirt if you can make your plaids match up. Now, you want to decide what you want your middle to look like. I definitely want it to look even. And then I want to make sure that I cut each piece starting with the same top line so that my side seam matches up on the side. Because these are rectangles, I can match my side seams up perfectly. I've marked where I want the top of my slit to be. My back seam edges are serged, and now I'm pinning my right sides together, taking very special care to get those stripes matched up. And don't forget to stop right there to where you want your slit to come up. Making a dart super easy. When you have your fabric and you have those markings on there, you're going to fold straight line down, and then you're going to put pins in. And you're hoping that your pin lines up on the back. And then you're just going to pin all the way down. You're going to stitch starting at the top of that diagonal line, going down, and you're not going to back stitch. You're going to leave tails right there at the end. Tie those off. Clip. And then you are going to fold it out, press. Do that for both sides. And you have a beautiful darted back panel. Now it's time to do our panels together, right sides to right sides. Remember to take care and really line up those stripes, otherwise it'll bug you later. You can kind of peel it back like I did there and see that your stripes are matching up. Before I finish my edges, I want to stop and check the fit. Oh, I've got it rolled over the amount that my elastic casing will be. And I want to make sure that I can slide it off. And then I want to make sure that it looks okay in the hips, and that most importantly, I can sit in it. Even cross my legs. I have folded over 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to fold down that elastic amount plus 1/4 of an inch. One little thing you'll notice as you're folding it down, if you did darts, the top of your skirt is a little bit smaller than the rest of it. So it's going to make it a little bit harder to fold, so it's not going to match up. But match up your center seam there in the back, and then just fold down your best. It's going to be a little bit bigger than 1 inch right there in the back, and that's okay. Just wiggle it, make it work. Just a reminder, leave an opening somewhere so that you can put your elastic in. Just a few tips. First of all, just double check that your stitching allows for the elastic to go through. Next, I like to make a little mark at the spots where my elastic is going to stitch together. That makes it so that when I am putting it together at the end and trying to stitch it, I don't get it twisted right there at the end. I also like to put some clips in. That way I don't lose my elastic. Nothing is worse than losing your elastic inside the casing and having to go and find it. The elastic is all in. I've closed up my opening, and I've even done a few little stitch in the ditch spots right at the side seams and a few other little places to make sure that the elastic doesn't twist and doesn't move. Everything is finished but the split, so it's time to get that finished up and our skirt will be complete. I folded my split and I've created a memory crease for my hem. I'm going to turn this little corner up right here and then fold over my hem allowance, tucking kind of all of that inside, and that way I don't have any weird bulky edges or anything, or which one kind of goes first. It just kind of makes a nice little edge right there. My skirt is hemmed and it is top stitched all around the slit. And I just reinforced the top up there with a few extra rows of stitching. Everything looks nice and I'm ready to try it on. Whether you're styling it with a simple t-shirt or dressing it up, I hope you love this skirt as much as I do. I didn't have a nicer top to match, so I made one that's perfect. Subscribe so you don't miss that video, and thanks for watching. Did a few trial and errors, as you can see. You can probably see my chalk marks, but I finally decided that what I needed to do was to put a piece of interfacing here, and that way the top hopefully will not rip. It will be a little bit more reinforced when I walk. And I need to cut it out with pinking shears because some of it I'm not really going to be able to turn it under, but that's putting it kind of right at my knees. Go in and kind of finish those edges so they don't ravel, and then just turn it. I'm going to try to make it as absolutely small as I can, and then just turned it under kind of as small as I could, still triangling and making it even on each side. I top stitched it down, did one really close so I could catch up here, and then I did one a little bit further out